Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, salutations to all. So in the fourth canto, discourse 9, we saw how Dhruva got the darshan of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan also blessed him with what desire he had. Though by then Dhruva's mind was purified, he didn't ask Bhagwan for the kingdom or any special abode, but Bhagwan still fulfilled his desire. And when Bhagwan manifested, Dhruva was speechless. So Bhagwan touched his cheeks with the conch, and Dhruva sang the glory of the Lord. The Lord blessed him. Now one point to understand here is this, that though Dhruva didn't ask, when darshan of Bhagwan happened, Dhruva didn't ask that I should have the eternal abode, etc. Bhagwan still fulfilled his desire. Because what happens is our mind is very unpredictable. When it comes to states of purity, then it becomes desireless. But it is not necessary the mind will always stay there. So it may slip. Now when it slips, again desires will crowd. So Bhagwan's darshan, when it happened, though Dhruva didn't ask, Bhagwan nevertheless blessed him with what desire propelled him to come to the forest and do the tapasya. Because Bhagwan wants to be safe. Nobody should accuse Bhagwan that, I wanted this and you didn't bless me with this. In the Gita, Bhagwan says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. Whoever propitiates me in whichever way, I will bless them in that way. So Dhruva started with Artha Purushartha, and he wanted that. So Bhagwan blessed him. Dhruva later regrets that why did not I ask Bhagwan for perpetual devotion to his lotus feet. That is just to show us that how devotion to the Lord is more important than even an eternal abode, even the kingdom of this earth for 36,000 years, any other sense enjoyment, pleasure, whatever it is. So finally Dhruva returns and he is welcomed by the king and the queens and the whole praja. They are very happy. And we saw that King Uttanapad becomes old and he gives the kingdom to Dhruva and he retires. He wants to worship the Supreme Self. So that is where we ended at chapter 9. Now we take up chapter 10. Dhruva marries Brahmi, the daughter of Shishumara, who is supposed to be one of the Prajapatis. And he had two sons, Kalpa and Vatsara. And through his other wife, Ila, who is daughter of Vayu, Dhruva got Utkala. And a daughter, the name of the daughter is not given here, but she is supposed to be a very exalted woman. Now, Uttama was the brother of Dhruva. So this Uttam gets killed in an encounter with Yakshas. So when he was on a hunting expedition in the Himalayas, Yakshas are like Devatas, they are divine beings, and they are those who serve Kubera, the lord of wealth, the treasurer of Devatas. So Yaksha, those Yakshas, they kill him. One Yaksha kills him actually. And his mother Suruchi also, she has gone to the forest, and in a forest fire she also dies. Now some commentators, they also say that she died, she got such a death because she insulted the devotee of Bhagavan. Now at that time Dhruva was not a devotee, but he, because of his past samskars, and then in his life here, when he went, he had darshan of Bhagavan, he becomes a devotee. So the insult of such a devotee got that kind of a negative karma to her, and she got burnt. That is the explanation by some of the saints. Now Dhruva got very angry. Now just see that few points to understand here. The brother Uttama is the one because of whom Dhruva was being ill-treated by Suruchi. Suruchi, the king Uttanapad, was playing with Uttama, and Uttama was in his lap, and Suruchi did not want Dhruva to sit in his lap. And Uttanapad could not stand up for Dhruva, so Dhruva left. But when Dhruva comes back, Dhruva doesn't have jealousy, because his mother, the main role that Suniti played is very, very important. His mother ensured that there is no jealousy in the heart of Dhruva for Uttama, nor does Dhruva feel inferior about himself, nor does he have hatred against Suruchi. That's how she trained Dhruva. And that is why Dhruva's mind was also able to remain on Bhagavan. Otherwise, these vikaras, they are terrible. They can distract our mind like anything. Especially jealousy. In jealousy, one goes on burning inside, because what one wants, one does not get, and somebody else gets it. And if that person is the cause for not getting what I want, then the jealousy is much more. Suppose I want a car, and another person, let us say my neighbor, he gets a car and I don't get it, then there may be some jealousy. But if that neighbor is the cause because of which I am not getting my car, then also more jealousy will happen. Now the same thing happened here. Uttam is the cause, but Dhruva's mind is not having jealousy for Uttam. And here we see that even when Dhruva came back, and in procession he was being taken on the elephant, he asked, where is Uttam? And he got Uttam on the elephant with him. So that is his love for Uttam. He doesn't have jealousy. These are qualities of a great devotee. So that is one of some of the aspects to learn. That Dhruva doesn't have jealousy. His mother has trained him well. And here it is now that Uttam, when he died at the hands of the Yaksha, suddenly anger arose in the mind of Dhruva. So even after having darshan of Bhagavan and reaching such heights of devotion, tapasya, when this mind can play the trick with us, there is no idea we have. That's the reason why one has to be extremely alert throughout one's life. There is no compromise possible, not compromise, no complacency possible for a seeker. Gurudev used to say, alert and vigilant living is a sadhana by itself. Especially this anger and lust. When they will come, there is no idea anyone has. The way they come, terrible. Kama, Krodha, and then the third is Lobha. In the Gita, Bhagavan says, Kama, Krodha, Tatha, Lobha. Trividham Narakasyedam Dwaram Nashanam Atmanaha. These are the three gateways to hell. What? Kama, lust or selfishness. Krodha, anger. Lobha, greed. Kama krodhas tatha lobha etas tasmad etat trayam tyajet. Hence one should renounce these, because they will come uninvited. We have no idea when they will come. Impulsively they will just come. And here it comes in the mind of Dhruva. He gets so angry, and of course there is sadness. Dhruva bhratrivadham shrutva kopa marsha shuchar pitaha jaitram syandana sthaya gata punya janalayam. So he is overcome by this anger, kopam, amarsha, indignation, and shucharpitaha. Here it is grief. So when Dhruva got this, he took his chariot and he went to that city where these Yakshas are living. The city of Alaka, the abode of Yakshas. Alkapuri, all of us know that's where Gandharva, Yakshas and Gandharvas and Kubera, they live. Now they are divine beings, so their abode also is divine. It's not that it's somewhere or just physical place. So proceeding in the northerly direction, in the valley of Himalayas, he went to this Alkapuri, and that was crowded with Guhyakas. Guhyakas means the Yakshas, inhabited by spirits and the ghosts who are attendants of Lord Shiva. Some of them are there also. Now, Dhruva went and blew the conch there, causing havoc. And the way he blew the conch, everybody started trembling there. And we see there's a massive fight that happens. I'm not going into the detail, you can go through the details. There's a huge fight that happens between Dhruva and the Yakshas. Dhruva shoots arrows at them, 6 arrows at a time. They get hurt, they shoot 12 arrows at him. And then suddenly they shower, and it is written here that the Yakshas are 136,000 and Dhruva is one person. He went and he took on the might of the Yakshas, and these Yakshas also, they throw so many bows, arrows, weapons, swords, everything at him, and at one point he completely gets Dhruva's whole chariot, and Dhruva get as though covered by all these. So the Siddhas and many of them, they think that Dhruva is dead. But if you visualize this, it's literally like a Hindi movie scene. Suddenly that hero comes out of it. It's like that. Dhruva suddenly comes out. This, as though, like example given here is like the cloud comes out, blasting all this. I mean, the sun comes out from behind the clouds, and this winds, they blast away all these clouds. Suddenly, in a moment, it was so dark, and suddenly the sun manifests and all these clouds are gone. It is like that. And then there's a fierce fight that happens, and in that, so many of these Yakshas, Rakshasas, all of them, they get killed, and they start running away from the battle, like the true breeders of elephants disturbed in their sport by the king of beasts. And one lion, how that lion can create fear in the heart of even so many elephants is like that. These Rakshasas, Yakshas, they all started running. And what he found, that everybody went away and he is alone. Suddenly they all ran away. He is standing there alone. But he didn't become complacent. He didn't think that, chalo, I have defeated all of them, I took my revenge. He waited there. And these Yakshas, they played sorcery, magic with him. They created an illusion around him. Suddenly he hears, this sound of roaring ocean, and then the dust raised by a blast. The sky is overcast with canopy of clouds. and they rain torrents of blood, pus, urine, fat. Then appears a mountain in the air and they rain maces, iron clubs, swords, you know, mushalas, and so many other things, stones. Serpents run to him and they as though bite him. All this is Maya. This is another level of warfare. It is not real. It will create fear. So the serpents, they will come and hiss in front of him, but they won't bite him. They only to create fear. All those weapons, they cannot hurt him. They are Mayavi. But looking at them, anybody will get terrified. So like that, the serpents ran up to him, hissing with a thunder-like roar, discharging fire from their eyes in rage. Then mad elephants, lions, tigers, all these. So all these are tricks which are peculiar to the Yakshas. And this happens through the mantra Shakti and all that. They will create this whole illusory thing. And the warrior actually, who is not aware, will succumb to this. So now, looking at this, there are so many rishis, sadhus, siddhas. They start praying for the well-being of Dhruva, that may Dhruva not get hurt by this. So this siddhas, they say, Munayaha Uchuhu. O son of Uttanapad, may the mighty Lord who relieves the agony of his suppliants wipe out your enemies. By uttering and hearing his very name, people easily succeed in this very life in conquering death, which is so hard to overcome. Oh dear Dhruva. So they as though give him advice. Now Dhruva heard them. Now we are going to the next chapter, 11th chapter. So Dhruva took some water and he washed his hands and he remembered Narayana and he remembered the Narayana Astra. So the Narayana Astra he started invoking, and even before he fixes the arrow to the bow, the illusory appearances conjured by the Yakshas vanished in the same way as ignorance and its progeny, ego, etc., disappear at the dawn of wisdom. He has not even put the Astra. He has just invoked Narayana Astra. Narayana Astra is Bhagavan Vishnu. And says Narayana is the one who manifested it. So this Narayana, in that Narayana is Bhagavan himself. So that Astra, before even he invokes and he places it on the bow, this illusion disappeared suddenly. Meaning to say what? This is also one aspect is, okay, the war happened. The other aspect is the symbolism which is given here itself. That this Maya works in such a way, and we are the jivas. We get terrified with this Maya. But this entire Maya will disappear the moment we start remembering the Lord. Because Bhagavan is Mayapati. Our problem is we remember the Lord for some time, then we forget. And our mind is not anchored in the Lord. Dhruva's mind is anchored in Bhagavan. Momentarily, this anger has come to show us, this is also one type of learning, that even if the mind is anchored in devotion, these vikaras are powerful, so one should be very alert. That's a learning for us. So this symbolism is that. So now Dhruva fixed his bow and he shot this Narayana Astra. That tore off, their arms and thighs and the necks, and all these many Yakshas who had ran away, they were now running towards him again. And his Narayana Astra ensured that all these Yakshas, they get killed. So what is written here is, as they ran towards him on the field of battle, he tore off with his arrows their arms, thighs, necks and bellies, and dispatched them to the highest realm, Satyaloka, meaning Brahmaloka, which even the Siddhas attain to. They crave for that. That abode these Yakshas got. through the path of the sun. Through the solar path, one goes to Satyalok. Through the lunar path, one goes to Devalok. So these Yakshas, they got to Satyalok. That is the power of Narayana Astra and the devotee. They had died at the hands of a devotee and the Astra, which is Bhagwan's Astra. They went to Satyalok. Now Svayambhu Manu, remember Uttanapad is the son. Priyavrata and Uttanapad, they are the sons of Svayambhu Manu. We are seeing the Vamshanu Charita of that Svayambhu Manu. Akuti, Prasuti, Devahuti, and Uttanapad and Priyavrata, these are children of Svayambhu Manu. In that Devahuti's prasang we saw, then we are seeing this Uttanapad and his son Dhruva. So here, Svayambhu Manu, he was feeling that why is my grandson doing this? And these Guhyakas, these Yakshas, unnecessarily they are getting killed. And one Yaksha killed this Uttanapad's son, Uttam. And this Dhruva is just mad with anger because he loved his brother so much, and now his death has made him so upset and so angry that so many other Yakshas are paying the price for it. So his mind was filled with compassion, and he came there with many other sages and he spoke to Dhruva. Manuruvacha alam vatsati roshena tamodvarena papmanam yena punyajanan netan avadhis tvama nagasaha. He says, stop, O Dhruva, enough. Alam means enough. Enough with this anger. That is a gateway to hell. And swayed by that, you have killed so many of these punyajanas, meaning these yakshas. Yakshas are people who have done punya, that's why they have become yajna. Some jivas who have done punya karma, they only will become yaksha, gandharva, kinnara, devata, depending on the level of punya and of course their desire what they have. Based on that, they will get the yoni. Now, here it is said, this punyajanas are unnecessarily being killed because you are under the sway of this anger. And this carnage of these innocent demigods is not befitting our race. The righteous people, they condemn such acts. Dharmic people don't do any of this. So, why are you doing this? For the fault of one. Nanuvekasya paradhena prasangad bhavo hataha. Because of the fault of one, you are killing so many. Bhratur vadha bhitaptena tvayanga bhratrvatsala. You are burning in this grief of your brother's death, and under that sway, you are killing so many because of one yaksha who killed your brother and who you loved so much that you have lost the sense of balance, proportion, and under that impulse of anger, you have become completely uncontrollable. So please stop. Then he says, Nayam Margo hi sadhunam rishi keshanuvartinam. Those who are good people, those who are the devotees of Rishikesha, meaning the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, they don't behave in this way. Yadatmanam paragrihya pashuvadbhuta vaishasam. They don't think of this body as their self and then act like animals. So, Dhruva, you please stop. And you are somebody who has propitiated the Lord in your very childhood. People don't do that. They can't do that even through their whole life. And you are the one who propitiated Bhagwan at such a young age. Your mind is so pure. And you also have been assured by the Lord of the supreme state, Vaikuntha. Then why are you doing all this? You remember the Lord at all times. Satvam harer anu dhyayataha tatpum samapi sammataha katham tu avadyam kritavan anushikshan satamratam. So he says here that constantly abiding in the thoughts of Sri Hari and esteemed even by his devotees, how did you perpetrate this reprehensible act? You who ought to instruct others in the way of the righteous, you are the king. As a king, you are the one who has to follow dharma. You have to set example for other people. And here you are only setting a bad example and doing things which are worthy of condemnation. And you already had a darshan of Bhagwan. So why are you doing this? Oh, Dhruva. Now these next two verses are very beautiful. Titikshaya karunaya maitriya cha akhila jantushu samatvena cha sarvatma bhagavan samprasidati. Bhagavan is pleased with such a person who titikshaya. So the person who is having titiksha towards the elders, what the elders say, one bears it, one obeys it, one follows it. Then karuna, those who are suffering or those who are lower, inferior, not inferior, we should say, though lower in the sense those who are younger. So the elders, one obeys them, one bears what they say, one listens to them with great respect. And those who are younger, towards them one has compassion, because sometimes they may make blunders, mistakes. Like right now Dhruva is younger to Svayambhu Manu. So Svayambhu Manu, out of compassion, he comes to correct Dhruva. Not to punish him, not to scold him or rebuke him or take him to task, but to guide him. Kare, what you are doing is adharma, don't do this. Out of compassion. So he says towards elders, titiksha, towards the younger ones, compassion. Maitriya, towards the equal, be friendly. Cha akhila jantushu samatvena cha sarvatma. And be equanimous towards all the living beings. Bhagavan samprasidati. So if these four happen, titiksha towards the elders, karuna towards the younger ones, equality with those who are of your age, and equanimity or equal treatment to all the living beings. Like Bhagavan says in the Gita, Pandita Samadarshinaha. The Pandit is one, wise person is one who sees the same self in all. It is not Samavarti, it is not same behavior with all. Behavior may be dependent on the role one is playing, on the age factor, etc. But one respects them all, loves them. The basic conduct is same towards all. So equanimity inside. So he says that the Lord is pleased with such people. And what happens if the Lord is pleased? Samprasanne bhagavati purusha prakritair gunaihi vimukto jiva nirmukto brahma nirvanam richati. That person becomes free from the three gunas, the play of prakriti. And vimuktaha, that person becomes free from the three gunas. One, jiva nirmuktaha, that jiva becomes free from the jiva bhav. If you go beyond three gunas, you go beyond the ego and attain supreme Brahman. So he reminds him, you wanted devotion to the Lord and your goal is supposed to be that. And what you are doing right now is opposite to that. This will lead you in a wrong direction. This will get you negative karma. Then he goes on to explain some more deeper aspects. And he says that this body is made up of 5 elements and it is produced by the coming together of the male and the female. And this whole process of creation, dissolution, etc. is taken up by the Lord himself, and it is happening by the will of Bhagavan. So when these three gunas, they are disturbed, they are in Samya Avastha. This has come many times earlier in Bhagavatam also, the whole process of creation. So three gunas are in the state of equilibrium, Then this sankalpa of the Lord will disturb that, and then the creation starts. Till then, the creation, there is no creation. Everything is in the Supreme Lord, unmanifest. All the three gunas are also in equilibrium. Then the sankalpa of the Lord and those three get disturbed. So here it is said, it is due to him that this universe consisting of both cause and effect ever remains in a state of flux, even as iron is set in motion by the presence of the lodestone, by this magnet. So in that same way, Bhagwan's presence and Prakriti works. And the energy of the Lord, which disturbs this three gunas, the equilibrium, is the time. Because as per time, so Bhagwan will create time, and then the earlier creation has to manifest. Because the time period is very important. This 1,000 Mahayugas, meaning one cycle of Satyug, Tretayug, Dwapar, Kali Yuga. Like that, 1,000 cycles when they complete, that is one day of Brahmaji. That much time is one night of Brahmaji. So when one day of Brahmaji is over, everything goes back into Bhagwan. Then one night of Brahmaji is over, then again everything manifests. So everything goes back into Brahmaji and then again manifests from Brahmaji. Like that, 100 years of Brahmaji, then the whole creation will go back into Bhagwan, including that Brahmaji. And a new Brahmaji will start the next process of creation from where it was left earlier. So the time is measured. This much time Brahmaji will sleep, this many years Brahmaji will live. After 100 years, Brahmaji will go back into Mahavishnu. And then Mahavishnu also remains for a certain period of time in the day state. And then this creation happens, etc. So now he says that is why time is that which disturbs. So Sankalpa of the Bhagwan, and then of course time gets created and then the equilibrium is disturbed. So that is how he creates this universe, though remaining a non-doer, and dissolves it, though a non-destroyer. So Bhagwan is Akarta, Abhokta, even when all this happens. Why? Because it's only a play of his Maya. He is not doing anything. The creation by itself is not real. Like the dream is not real. And the waker is lying on the bed. So even when the dream is created, waker is though creator, yet not creator. And when the dream disappears into the waker is the destroyer, yet not the destroyer. So that way, it is the Lord who is doing all this. So what happens here? This 20th and 21st shloka one should see. Navai swapakshosya vipaksha eva va parasya mrutyor vishata samam prajaha tam dhavamanam anudhavantya nisha yatha tam dhavamanam anudhavantya nisha yatha rajasya nilam bhuta sanghaha. So he says here that equally entering all created beings as death. So the moment one is born, as per the prarabdha karma, one is born. Bhagwan is the karma phala data also. The time period of every jiva is fixed based on their own karma. So Bhagwan also enters every jiva as death. The Supreme Being treats none as his own or as his enemy. Bhagwan is not doing partiality. Bhagwan is same to all. Like particles of dust following a blast, all living beings follow the course of time spirit subject to their own destiny. So what killed Uttama is his own prarabdha. So two standpoints are there. Either one says why each jiva gets as per their prarabdha karma, and Bhagwan is the one who ensures the prarabdha karma. The karma phala is given and the jiva gets the lifespan to exhaust that much prarabdha. and when that is over, that jiva will die. And obviously the karma jiva has come to exhaust. It is not only individual's karma, there's a web of karma with so many other jivas that the jivas have come together and they are interacting with each other. They have their karmic accounts to settle with each other. So that will go on. So either one says that it is happening by karma, or one says it is happening by Bhagwan's will. Either ways, one will not unnecessarily blame people. Right now, in his anger, he is saying the Yakshas are responsible for Uttama's death and I am going to destroy these Yakshas. We see even in Mahabharata that happens. When Parikshit Raja is, killed by Takshak, now Janmejaya gets very angry and he is doing one Sarpa Yajna to destroy all the snakes. Why? Because this Takshak killed my father. I'll kill all the snakes. Because the mind gets into that revenge state. So here he says that the all-pervading Lord, who ever remains in his own natural states, cuts short as well as prolongs the life of a living being, a creature of its destiny, though himself immune from such changes. So Bhagwan, it appears, cuts short somebody's life or elongates somebody's life based on their own karma of the past as well as present. If prabal karma one does in the present, one can even postpone death, change the time of death. That requires massive prabal karma to be done to invoke Bhagwan's grace, and that's an exception. That's why it is said prolong. Markandeya Rishi and some of them are examples of that. Very, very rare. Most of the people will get the time of death as per what is their karma when they are born itself. It is decided based on their karma. Some people can put some effort and by grace of Bhagwan, their life prolongs for whatever reason. So then he says that this entire process can be viewed from these standpoints, that Bhagwan is the karta or it is based on their karma. Same thing we have to apply for our life also. And all the near and dear ones. The causes because of which somebody dies, they are only incidental to the karma of that jiva. That's why one doesn't blame and hold anybody responsible with that animosity and anger and revenge, etc. Because the karma between two jivas is what is responsible for what they go through. In that, if I am attached to one jiva and I feel that this is not fair, this should not have happened, and then I become angry and then want to, do this kind of a violence, then Svayambhu Manu says, don't take it personally, it is their karma. And if we think that no, my brother should have not died in a battle like this, he should have died peacefully on the bed in front of me, that is our immaturity of thinking. Who are we to decide how should a person die? Bhagwan will decide. It is his will, his creation, as well as the karma of that person. If I insist and I have some false expectation that my near and dear one should pass away like this only, or should not pass away in this way, that may be our immaturity because we see it only from our standpoint. So now he says here that people call this Lord in different ways. Kechit karma vadantyenam swabhavam apare nripa eke kalam pare daivam pumsak kamamu tapare. So he says here that some people who are the followers of karma kanda or mimamsa, the path of karma, where you do actions and you get results and then you go to heaven, etc. They call him karma because for them Ishvara does not exist. This karma itself is Ishvara for them. Ishvara meaning this karma itself is supreme for them. Through karma they will get the punya, they will go to heaven. Ishvara is not required even to get karma, give karma phala, because karma itself has capability to attract that karma phala, is what they believe. So some people call that Supreme Lord Kechit Karma, they call him karma. Some people who are Charuvakas, they call him nature. Vadantyenam Swabhavam. Swabhava here is nature. Because they believe only what they see. And what they see is these elements. And they don't even believe in space, which they can't, which is not visible as though for them. So it's only air, fire, water, earth. They believe only that much. So they call that as God. Then others, like astrologers, they call it destiny, AK Kalam. Others call him Kama, and some call him the Daiva. Daiva is your own past destiny, or destiny as ordered by Bhagwan, the Karma Phala Data, Daivam. So all these, some people call him Avyaktasya Prameyasya Nana Shakyudayasya Cha Navai Chikirshitam Tata Ko Vedatha Swasambhavam. Then he says that no one knows the intention of the Lord who is neither open to sense perception nor to any means of cognition. Bhagwan is not visible to the senses, cannot be objectified, and so Bhagwan's will nobody knows. Some people don't believe in Bhagwan, some people believe in past karma, whatever be the philosophy they follow, nobody knows the intention of that Supreme Lord. And he is the fountainhead of manifold energies like Mahat Tattva, and this entire nature, everything comes from Bhagwan. Who then can know the Lord himself? The origin of each jiva is Bhagwan himself. So who will know Bhagwan and who will know his will? So give up this anger. Understand that the will of the Lord is supreme. So it is not these Yakshas who are the attendants of Kubera who slew your brother. It is God alone. See that shloka. Nachaite putra kabhratuhu hantaro dhanadanugaha visargadanayota visargadanayostata pumso daivam hikaranam. Daivam here means the Lord himself. And Bhagwan as the karma phala data, he is the only cause. Don't blame these yakshas. It is God alone who is responsible for the man's birth and death. And it is he who creates the universe, and it is he again who preserves and destroys it. Nevertheless, being free from egoism, he is neither attached to the modes of nature nor to the functions of creation, etc. So associating with his Maya, he creates, he evolves, he protects, and then he also withdraws the beings into himself. So remember all this. Seek the Supreme Lord with all your being. That's the main purpose for which you have come here. Tameva mrityum amritam tata daivam sarvatmanopehi jagat parayanam yasmai balim vishwasrijo haranti gavo yatha vaina sidama yantritaha. 27th shloka. So he says here that with all your being you resort to that divinity alone, who is death itself. To those who are not devoted to him, Bhagwan appears as Kala, and even those who are devoted to him, Bhagwan is Kala also. In the Mahabharata war, before the war happens, that Virat Roop Bhagwan shows, there he tells Arjun, and he shows Arjun, in Virat Roop, so many of them, Pandavas, Kauravas, all the armies, everything going into his mouth, and they are stuck between his teeth and he's crushing them, and all that he shows. Then there he says, Kalosme lokakshayakrit pravriddha. I have become time who is engaged in devouring the worlds. So, samahartumiha pravritta. I am here engaged in consuming all these worlds. So Bhagavan says here, Svayambhu Manu says here that he only is death. And he is the ultimate resort of the whole universe, and to whom even creators of the world like Brahmaji bear offerings. Now see the example given here. Even as oxen controlled by a string passed through their nostrils bear loads for their master. So Brahmaji and other great rishis, siddhas, devatas, all of them also, they do their duty as commanded by the Lord. So don't blame these yakshas. You felt so hurt by your stepmother's words, and then you went to the forest when you were just 5 years old, and you succeeded in propitiating the Lord, controlling your senses, and you also got an abode for yourself. So now you should turn within, because you had darshan of Bhagavan outside at such a young age, and now you have been ruling the world for such a long time. Now you have to turn within and seek that Supreme Spirit who fondly stays in the mind, free from animosity, and who is devoid of attributes. Free your mind from this animosity, this attitude of revenge. Seek that Supreme Lord who is free from attributes, who is imperishable. So says, and even here, Svayambhu Manu also says that Mamahamiti prarudham. This I and mine is terrible. That is what causes all the bondage. So he says, with the help of Bhagavan, you can drop this ignorance in the form of I and mine. So, O king, now look at him. Svayambhu Manu is telling Dhruva, O king, because he is a king here. He doesn't say, you are after all my grandchild. I am so, I'm your grandfather and all that. He respects him. O king, Sayat Samyacha Rosha Bhadram Te Pratipam Shreyasa Param Shrutena Bhuyasa Rajan Nagadena Yathamayam. He says, O king, hence what you should do with your great amount of learning that you have, you curb your anger, because that anger is an impediment to attaining divinity. And every blessing, it will destroy all blessings, because our mind is so happy and so calm and peaceful and has so many blessings in our life, but this anger will come and destroy everything. He says, so you give up that anger. Like a disease is controlled with the help of medicine, you control this anger with the medicine of Bhagavan. The name of the Lord, seek the refuge of the Lord, and may that Lord bless you. So he says, a wise man strives to attain this state of Brahman, the state of fearlessness. A wise man who seeks for himself the state of fearlessness should never allow himself to be overpowered by anger, for people are terribly afraid of the man who is swayed by it. The person who is under the control of anger and allows anger to sway oneself, people are scared of that person. And that person's peace also this anger destroys. One's blessings also one is not able to count. One starts doing things which are hurtful, harmful. Then how will you propitiate Bhagavan? Because Bhagavan wants equal attitude towards all, because the self in me is a self in all. So he says that's why the people who seek liberation must not be under the power of anger. Now and then people may use anger as a tool, that is a different matter, and these great masters have that ability where they don't get swayed from inside because they're established in the truth. But those who are yet wanting to realize that state must control that anger. So he says, you have committed a great offense against Kubera. He is a friend of Lord Shiva, and you killed so many yakshas. though under provocation. There you may have a cause, but you have killed so many Yakshas, so you have offended Kubera, and because you thought that these Yakshas killed your brother, so you are punishing them. So now, because you have offended Kubera, you please propitiate him. And be polite. So he says here, Helanam giri shabhratuhu dhanadasya tvaya kritam yajjanignavan punya janan bhratragna nityamarshitaha. So he says you propitiate him soon, and through submissiveness, polite words, before the anger of exalted souls like him destroys our race. So now when Svayambhu Manu says this, Dhruva also is a devotee and a mind which is pure after all. Temporarily got swayed by anger, so he obeys. And immediately he stops. So what happens next? That we continue in the next class. Any questions for today? Yes.
Swamiji. Thank you. So, Swami, can we understand that this sudden anger that overcame Dhruva, could it be some lurking attachment, some lingering attachment was still there, because we say anger comes from desire only. So there was some lingering attachment for his, I don't know, for his.
There was the attachment to his brother, no, Uttama. There is love, but there is also attachment factor, because that's why if attachment is there, then anger will come.
Right.
So that attachment he didn't bother about at that time. He should have removed that attachment. So that shows the power of attachment and how attachment also is subtle. And we may have love for Bhagavan, but attachment can coexist in our heart. So we have to work on that. We can't just say I'm devoted to Bhagavan and forget the attachments. One has to consciously ensure that attachment one removes that attachment.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yes, Jyotsna.
Swamiji, then what do you say for suicide? Like when you say everything is destined, even death is destined, then what would you say? Was a person with suicide, was that also part of his karmic plan?
See, that it definitely, if you see from karmic standpoint, it will be destined that he will die as a suicide or will attempt a suicide. That may be destined, definitely. But we don't know now what is destined. So generally we always say to people that you have your purushartha. So don't attempt suicide, don't give in to these negative thoughts, try to bounce back. If finally it has to happen, anyway it will happen, that is the way for us to accept that that is how it was destined. But that person himself or herself and the people around should ensure that that person puts the effort to bounce back. That is also a part of Purushartha, no? Now, because we don't know what is the destiny. It may be that the person is not destined to die out of suicide and the person can bounce back. So we don't know those aspects. After doing the best, if something has still happened, then we can always say that it was in the karma of that person. We can't help it. At that time, one doesn't need to blame and feel, that it is unfair and why did this person die like that. That was the destiny of that person. That person went like that. But while that person is there, one has to do by that person himself or herself as well as the others around him. They have to do their best to ensure that doesn't happen. That is a vision that the scriptures, they tell us, that one should not commit suicide because human birth is most precious. And the possibility of realization and speeding up the process of evolution and realization is only in this human birth. And by suicide anyway, one will not be able to escape the karmic consequences of what one is facing right now. So it is not a solution. So if these things are clear, then a person will do the best to come out of these tendencies. But after that, if finally nothing saves and that person has to be that way, that will happen. Then it is after that only which we can say that it was in their destiny. We can't say that before because we don't know.
Because Swamiji, a lot of these people are very young. They don't have all this understanding, and they give no indication also that they are going to commit suicide. It comes as a huge shock or surprise to the families. So you would say that then you have to tell yourself that it was part of their karmic plan.
See, in this we have to understand that they have no deeper understanding. That fault is ours. Did we attempt to give them that understanding? Did we attempt to make them feel and make them stronger that is so what if you don't get certain things in life, you are still worthy, you are still lovable, you are still a good person? Why should the conditioning of the society be more stronger than the internal strength? What have we done to give internal strength to the youngsters? That is our duty, which we should do. Point one. Point two, nobody commits suicide just like that. There are suicidal tendencies, suicidal thoughts, the build-up happens, there are indications which one has to be subtle to understand. Through conversations, through signs, through withdrawals, through not participation, through many ways one will see that there's something not right here. So that is a tuning which one should have with the child, with the youngster. Then the indications will be there. And if, of course, after all this, if one has done, then still the person does, then one can say that it was a part of their destiny, we can't help it. But many times we don't bother to empower the lives of children, the youngsters, make them independent, strong, have that inner strength, because our life itself is not like that. We ourselves depend on what people say, how society perceives, what popularity we have, and we define our happiness through so many external factors that the child learns all those things, and then those are important, and then the child feels lesser because one didn't get something or one had a heartbreak or whatever may be the reason. So our duty is all these things. Then finally, if things happen, they happen. And suppose one says that, okay, I couldn't do this. One doesn't have to beat oneself up. At least one can learn from that and see what can be done now. Because even at that point in time, it must have been some karma that one was not able to give some type of knowledge or empower the person from within. If that has happened, then that also is a part of the earlier karma only. But what can we learn from that now and help who are here right now? That is important. So that's what one has to do.
So you're saying, Swamiji, that learn from it, and then for the rest of your children or people around you, be more sensitive to their needs. So
Yeah.
that's the learning. If it's unfortunate that there's a suicide in your family, be more sensitive to the rest of the family, and so that not that it doesn't get repeated, so that you become more sensitive.
Yeah, you become more sensitive and you do your best to, so that it doesn't repeat. But if it has to, then that is the last thing that anyway is not in our control. But what we can do, we should do.
Okay, Hari Om, thank you, Swamiji. And what about the last recording on Chinmay Shivam? I didn't find the last two sessions recordings. Is the last two sessions on Chinmay Shivam?
Yeah, it is all there. All sessions are live streamed. So I don't have to upload separately. Right now it is there, even now. This session itself is there right now on the YouTube. So earlier sessions are also there. You have to just go on the channel and see in the uploads. You will find immediately there, or go to the Bhakti text section and go to playlist. You will find there.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you. Hari Om.
So let's do the Aarti.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसनन की, मंगल मुरली दीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बणिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया बावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति डोल की, मंगल आरती। मंगल आरती। राधा वर कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोऽयम् अग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।